Probably the most important question right now everyone wants to know is your body fat is
leaner.
Leaner. So you're dieting now.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, at this point in time, there's more than one reason why I decided to. I wouldn't call it dieting. It's pretty much more like a lifestyle change. You know, you always reach a point where, whether you're geared or not, you know, what is your ability to do your job, your ability to walk upstairs, your ability to, you know, just sleep tends to become, you know, more important than being a fat ass for the most part, and you know, eating whatever you want to eat. You know, there's only so many things that personally I would do. Getting locked in with my programming and locked in with my life and my job, and nutrition wasn't one of them. And I can definitely feel that through not only my training. You know, training always went really well, but at this point in time, you know, getting into gear and things like that, it makes it hard when you are constantly bloated or putting more weight on, and you want to stay maybe around a 242 class, but you're creeping up to 271. You know, 20 plus pounds cutting is just not a smart idea. So, but I mean, outside of that, even just doing your job and be able to work with kids and go outside and run. I mean, the last thing I want to do is walk up a flight of stairs and have to take 30 seconds to a minute just to kind of get my breath back down to, you know, sit there and talk with a kid or talk with a coach, and I'm sweating my balls off and I got drips coming down. I mean, it's just, you know, those things. There's more things important in life than just, you know, lifting heavy weight and being kind of somewhat eating like crap. You know, the idea around eat like shit and get stronger is such a bullshit concept that, you know, that's just not how things should be accepted, especially within the sport of powerlifting, definitely within athletic sports. But I think it's one of the problems within definitely powerlifting is that, you know, hey, eat big, you know, lift big, be big. You know, well, you can eat big by not eating like shit too. So.
Now, Jeremy and I we've had a pretty extensive relationship ever since, like Illinois State,
yeah,
back in 2005. And he can elaborate a little bit. There was a transition phase within his training, and this was after, I don't believe.
After UPA Nationals in 2008.
And he can elaborate on that conversation that we had after the meet, on why, you know, I think he started adopting more of a block model, and I guess then you can elaborate a little bit on, you know,
well, I got you. Prior to my training, or prior to kind of really adapting a block periodization methodology, you know, even kind of dating back to when I was in my undergraduate. I was introduced to Dave Tate's, you know, beginner 5-week program, beginner for a powerlifter, and I can't remember the exact title, but it was somewhere similar to that. I was introduced to pretty much the West Side method. Loved it, worked hard at it, totally sold out to it, did it for, you know, all the way through 2005. 2005 I had a really good year as a junior. Junior competitor where I won, you know, a regional meet, and then I won the national meet in the APF, and then I went over to Helsinki, Finland in 2005 and won the Worlds. You know, nothing that I hang a hat on at all. Just had a really good year, did very well. So, you know, for me, it was like, okay, West Side's working. This is really good stuff. You know, and the thing is, I sold out to it. I did it, and I never broke from it, and worked my ass off. You know. Then from 2005 to about 2007, I kind of took a hiatus a little bit, changed jobs. Graduated from a master's program, took a job at Cornell College in Iowa, where now I was a head strength conditioning coach. So having that being the issue, all of a sudden you're taking over a program that didn't exist, so you have to build that program. For about the first 5 or 6 months, I pretty much hated on myself, didn't lift all that much, didn't eat well at all. Was right around a 230-pound range, which is fine, but again, it wasn't good weight. And I wasn't just back into lifting. So 2006 comes around. 2006. I can't even remember the time frame. Actually, we'll go 2007. 2007 was pretty much an off year when I started back up in January. Trained hard, did really good for an entire 2007. 2008 was my first competition back, and was in the 242 class. Did very well. Can't remember the numbers, honestly. I don't remember my own numbers from shit anymore. But still doing West Side trainings, West Side methodology, and then moved on to 2008, did UPA Nationals in April, and I wasn't attaining the level that I wanted to be at. You know, I pretty much skipped over the 800-pound squat, so everything was still moving very, very well. But I went from, I squatted 900 pounds, wanted that 950, go to UPA Nationals, had a great training, what I thought was good training in the off season. Went to UPA Nationals, cut down 242, no problem, was weighing about 249 pounds, and still, elusive 950 wasn't even there. Barely PR'd on my squat by maybe a couple pounds. 950 wasn't any closer than it was going to be in the first place. Still had a pretty decent meet. And then that's when me and you, which we already had a relationship at the time, but you gave me a call and said, hey, why don't we try this? And to be honest with everybody, hey, I was kind of skeptical as to what it would work. I knew about block periodization, just not, how it would apply to powerlifting necessarily. And the funny thing is, now I can sit here and say, I think it applies to powerlifting better than any other. Well, it very much applies to powerlifting across the board. It's about perfectly set up for it. That doesn't mean everything else is crap out there. It just means it works really well for me.
For the more, the more advanced level.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to this point, we were driving back, he didn't do too well, and he needed a big change. And what was the total after, was it like 11 months, we just all of a sudden were like...
Well, getting block periodization, 11 months later was 2009 and competed in April, but I had a couple competitions in between there, Pro-Am, did it pretty well at, PR'd by X amount of pounds. And then I had a January meet, PR'd by X amount of more pounds. I basically total 20, I can't remember what the top total was. Needless to say, there was, hell, I don't even know at this point in time how much a gain it was, anywhere between 200 to about 311 pounds or something like that. It's 311 pound PR over an 11-month period. So I went from whatever total that was at the Nationals to totaling 2667. I put on 311 pounds onto my total. I was in the 2300 range, went right to the 2600 range in that amount of time. And only doing that in 11 months, that proved to me right there that the block periodization method for powerlifting was very much the way I needed to go. Whether that's the way everybody needs to go, like I said, depends upon the level, depends upon your understanding of it, and depends upon your dedication. Because if you're not, you got to understand block periodization can be very intense. It can be very mentally taxing as well as physical, but it involves a lot of preparation work and a lot of work you got to put in to get to where you want to be.
So let's go in a little bit with the mindset. So you were at near like the pinnacle of the 275 class. Then you got hurt. Now you're struggling with weights that you were smoking back in the day. Why don't you talk about that mindset, what you're concentrating on now, body weight goals, where you're thinking? Are you thinking in terms of 2 months, 3 months, or are you thinking in terms of years right now in regards to rebuilding yourself?
Well, after the 2009 Pro-Am, didn't have the results that I wanted to numbers-wise, but was able to end up winning that Pro-Am in 2009, the heavyweight division, which was, still really a good accomplishment. But I always measure things on how much progress I do meet to meet, week to week, and you never want to go to a meet and have necessarily not a PR day, even though I did PR on 2 lifts. It just wasn't my day that I had. Long story short, got done with that meet. Came around November time, and I hadn't been training. Been training here, a little bit here, a little bit there. I needed a kind of a mental reprieve and physical reprieve, especially over that for 11 months. It was just, that's all I did, is I just lived powerlifting, lived lifting, that was it. So, going to August, tearing my ACL, doing an activity that I never should have been doing in the first place, and I reached out to Athletes 24/7, we're not going to talk about it anymore. Either way, tearing my ACL, and, now it's been a year and X amount of time process of rehabilitation, mental reflection, trying to get my mind and body back to being right. Because you're going to go, I'm not mentally infallible or mentally perfect by any means. You get an injury, it happens. The first thing you do, first for me was, I'm going to go, I'm going to get through this and we're going to go. Thinking, I can bounce back from this in 2 seconds. Well, that's just not the case. It takes time to get back from these things. Currently right now, I'm very much locked into not only my training, but with my job, my life, and my nutrition. There's been a lot of things that I just need to get locked into, but I have struggled desperately as of recent to come to terms that I'm not where I need to be, and that's okay. Meaning, there's always going to be steps that you have to take to get back to where you want to be, and I can preach that all day long, but I'm not someone that, I'm not mentally so locked in that says that I will never ever have those ego or that guy on my shoulder saying you're not strong enough, this is weak weight, and you're not moving enough, and you need to be here and you need to be there. There's always a process to it, and it's kind of been hard to kind of get past that. I still struggle with it even as we sit here today, still wanting to be back to where I want to be, because you got individuals breaking world record here and this person doing this here. I know I'm very capable of being there. I never, if the ACL doesn't happen, maybe I am. Can't think about that kind of shit, because you know what? ACL did happen, injuries do happen, and it's how you get back on the horse and keep going. So,
so are we thinking 220 range now? 242 only?
242 would be the range that I need to be at. And that's not because of, competition or anything. Really the 242 range is where I want to be at because of my height, my size, and my strength. Being in the 275 class, the only reason I was in the 275 class is because I decided that diet-wise, it wasn't important. I decided to be a little bit more bloated than I needed to be, and for more than one reason, and that's just not what needs to happen. My focus at this point in time is not only, things aren't over in weeks and months, it's years. And right now, where I'm mentally locked in at is that I might be doing a meet here shortly, but that's just a meet to get my feet back wet, to get myself back concentrated on what I need to be concentrating on, and to see where I've progressed thus far, and then to take the necessary steps to make those steps come back even more. And my ultimate goals in my head, I don't like to throw things out, I don't like to talk about things very much, but I'll just keep it very simple. My ultimate goal at this point in time is to stay locked in with what I'm doing, stay extremely locked in with nutrition, diet, and get myself back to where I needed to be in the first place. And if records fall, records fall. And that's pretty much leave it at that.
So shifting gears a little bit, again, we're right now at the Learn to Train seminar. Jeremy and Brian Carroll just spoke, and they touched on a lot of things about mindset and technique and belief and systems. Why don't you just kind of reiterate a little bit what you spoke about in front of everyone? Let's just start, like first and foremost, let's just talk about like the mindset, like what it takes to be strong.
What does it take to be strong? The mindset has to be a lot of things, but the main focus needs to be on what do I need to do personally from where I'm at physically, and that could be talking about weaknesses, flexibility issues, injuries, whatever it is. Where am I starting at? Knowing that point in time. Also, I need to know where do I want to be at. You need to know those first couple things, before you can ever decide what you need to do. So your mindset needs to be locked in that, knowing, again, what's your goals, where you want to be, and where you're at this point in time. Past that, you're gonna have a lot of sacrifices. I'm sacrificing right now, and I don't find it to be a sacrifice, really, but if you want to talk about nutrition really quick, it's like, you're gonna have to set your priorities, get them set. And maybe that's, if God's number one, that's fine. If that's you. Family number two, hey, gotcha, you need to always have that locked in. But what's your next priority? Is this a high priority or is it not? If it is a high priority, then you need to start making other things in your life priorities as well. Strength training and being strong does not just encapsulate lifting weights. It encapsulates, doing all the proper warm-ups that you need to do, all the proper mobility work that you need to do. Getting in the weight room and training obviously is a big part of that. But, what are you doing for recovery work? What are you doing when we talk about recovery work? You're also talking about nutrition. What are you doing for your nutrition? Are you taking care of and getting the macros that you're supposed to be getting, or are you just eating sloppy and don't give a shit? And if that's the case, hey, more power to you. I'm not going to sit there and say there's not big guys out there moving big weight. They are. But their cholesterol levels are probably above their freaking body weight levels, and they'll sit there and probably tell you the day of the week, yeah, I feel like crap, I can't sleep worth a shit, I need a CPAP, and I snore and fucking people down the street hear me, car alarms are going off, stuff like that, or I can't sleep at all. Those things, if that's more important to you, that's fine, but I don't think that defines, what I would say being truly strong. Everything has to be, everything has to be wrapped around. But you also have to be, again, when we talk about mentally locked into it, you need to be mentally locked into everything, and that it doesn't just involve lifting heavy weights.